Hey YouTube, welcome back to Axis and Allies, the Garrison. This is Detroit coming to you from the bunker here in Rochelle Park, New Jersey, with another episode of Axis and Allies, the Garrison. We'll be reviewing another episode of the YouTube Wars. Okay, so welcome back. All right, so it is episode 6.3. It is Japan's turn. G.I. Joe, Generalissimo G.I. Joe will be going ahead and making his moves with the Empire of Japan. Okay, as we all know, things have been getting very hot and heavy in the Pacific with both the U.S. and Japan. But not only U.S. and Japan, but also ANZAC, China, the British, with the British in Calcutta, making offensive actions towards the Japanese. And it seems that even the Russians are getting in there because the Russians also have a sizable army in Central Mongolia, and the Chinese also have a sizable army in eastern or western China. Okay, so let's see how the U.S. and its allies, how they do or how they go about confronting the Japanese menace in the Pacific. Okay, so we all know that things have been getting very interesting. So the action and should continue in the Pacific. Okay, so it is G.I. Joe's turn. Let's see how things come about. Okay, so sit tight and enjoy the show as usual. Be back. All right, guys, this is the current naval and ground situation for the Japanese in the Pacific. As you can see, the Russian army has moved into Shahar, which is facing off with the Japanese army in Jeho. Okay, the Japanese have, I believe, 4 infantry, 1 artillery division, and 1 tactical bomber squadron in Shahar. Okay, the Japanese are also facing off with a Chinese army in Xinhai, and they themselves have 4 infantry divisions, 1 mechanized infantry, and 1 artillery division, facing off the 8, I believe actually 9 Chinese infantry divisions in Xinhai. I'm sorry for the pronunciation. I'm getting stuck there. Okay, so in Burma, you have a British army also consisting of 4 infantry, 1 mechanized infantry division, and 3 artillery divisions. And you also have a smaller ANZAC contingent in Shan State. Okay, and in Malaya, you have 1 U.S. armored division that was landed during the last round. Okay, in Kranksi, the Japanese have a couple of, 2 infantry and 1 artillery division, with a strong Japanese air force consisting of 2 strategic bombers, 2 tacticals, and actually 2 regular fighter squadrons that are ready to get deployed. All right, so now in Sea Zone 6, you have the badly injured U.S. fleet that was mauled during the last battle against the Japanese. All right, so it's very interesting what's going on there. And in Korea, you have a U.S. allied contingent consisting of 2 British infantry divisions, 2 U.S. mechanized, and 1 U.S. infantry division, and 1 bomber squadron based in Korea. Okay, so it's going to be very interesting to see what happens if the Japanese will be able to retake Korea from the U.S. and the British not this round, but actually let's see if it could happen round 7 or maybe round 8. Okay, and of course you still have a Japanese fleet in Sea Zone 20 consisting of a destroyer, 1 carrier, and 2 fighters. And in Guam, you have a U.S. Air Force consisting of 5 fighter squadrons in Guam, and in the Philippines, you have 3 U.S. strategic bombers or air wings, consisting also of their ground support units, which is of about, I believe, 10 infantry divisions defending the Philippines. Okay, so also in off the coast of Queensland, you have 2 naval transports, 1 destroyer of the Australian New Zealand Navy off the coast of Queensland. Okay. All right, so basically that's it for the U.S. and Pacific Japanese U.S. situation. The U.S. does not have any assets in Sea Zone 26 or Sea Zone 10, okay, which is interesting. All right, guys, sit tight, and we shall come back with the purchases that the United States, no correction, that the Japanese made under GI Joe, and with Japan's combat movements, which I believe are going to consist basically of Japan trying to take out the U.S. fleet in Season 6, which is, of course, also partially an allied fleet because you do have a cruiser of the Australian New Zealand Navy. Okay, sit tight and we shall be back. All right, YouTube, so we're back. The purchases that G.I. Joe made for Japan are as follows. G.I. Joe purchased or built two new aircraft carriers, one destroyer and one fighter. Okay, I believe that's I believe 50 IPCs. Is that even correct? No, that's not 50. That's 16, 32, 40. Yeah, 50 IPCs that G.I. Joe spent that he'll be using for his combat purchases. All right, so let's go ahead with the combat movements that G.I. Joe will be making with the Japanese. So he actually has declared three separate battles. One will be, two of the three will be naval battles. Okay, so the first battle will be the submarine that is moving into what naval territory is this, by the way? I'm forgetting right now. This is naval territory number 37. Is you have a combined transport fleet of one U.S. naval transport and the Australian naval transport being attacked by a single Japanese submarine coming from Sea Zone 35. Okay, so at a movement of two, that submarine is attacking those two naval transports, which will be an automatic kill for the Japanese. All right, the second battle, you have one Japanese infantry division coming from Buryatia Uha, attacking the single Chinese armored division defending at 1. Okay, it's a light armored unit or division defending. Both units get to roll a 1 or less. Infantry attacks with a 1 or less. The light armored unit or division will also defend with a 1 or less. So it's an equal battle, an even battle that's happening here. All right, so in Sea Zone 6 is where the action is really taking place, and this is where the Japanese are hoping to strike the lethal death blow to the U.S. Navy, U.S. fleet in Sea Zone 6. So what you have here is the Japanese fleet coming from Sea Zone 20. Okay, moves at a movement of 2 with its complement of 2 carrier-based fighter squadrons, as well as the 1 destroyer. Okay, then you have an additional tactical bomber, okay, coming from J-Hole at a movement of 2. So this tactical bomber has 2 movements left in its gas tank, or so reads its gas gauge of movements. Okay, so the other 4 aircraft are 2 tacticals and 2 fighter squadrons coming from Kwangsi, okay, at a movement of 3. Okay, so these units only have 1 movement left in their gas gauges as a consequence. So that's going to be a total of 1 destroyer, 4 fighters, and 3 tactical bombers. Now, keep in mind that for its technology, the Japanese developed fighter jets, which means that the Japanese fighters now attack at a 4 or less. So that means that the Japanese have 7 rolls at 4 or less. Yes, 7 at 4 or less. So which is a pretty lethal firepower for the Japanese at this point in time. And of course, let's not forget that the U.S. fleet in Sea Zone 6 has been mauled. All of its capital ships have sustained damage. Okay, so all 5 of the U.S. capital ships in Sea Zone 6 are damaged. Okay, so sit tight and we shall be back with the results of the order of combat, and we shall see how the Japanese made out in their offensive actions against the Allies. Sit tight, guys. All right, so let's review the results for the order of battle. Obviously, the naval engagement in Sea Zone 37 was an auto kill. So the two naval transports, the U.S. and Australian naval transports, were sunk. Okay, the second engagement was the one that took place in the Amur, where the evenly confronted divisions, the Japanese and American, Japanese and Russian armored division, light armored division, confronted each other. The Japanese were victorious. The light armored division was taken out by the Japanese infantry division. And of course, the battle of consequence. G.I. Joe, the Japanese got their payback. Sea Zone 6. The U.S. fleet was taken down. It was sunk to the bottom of the sea. The U.S. lost 4 naval carriers, the 2 cruisers, and the U.S. battleship in Sea Zone 6 were all sent to the bottom of the sea. All right, so the Japanese casualties were as follows. The Japanese lost 1 naval carrier themselves, 1 destroyer, and 2 tactical bombers. Okay, so the remaining units of the Japanese fleet here, or Air Force, were a total of 4 fighters, 4 fighter squadrons, and 1 tactical bomber squadron that participated in that attack. So this battle is of consequence, and it definitely hurts the U.S. War effort in the Pacific. But of course, it was one that was foreseen and one that the Allies, including myself, foresaw, and we were expecting a defeat, a tactical defeat in Sea Zone 6. Okay, so no surprises there. And of course, kudos to my good buddy G.I. Joe for his victory in Sea Zone 6. But again, no surprises for us there. All right, sit tight, and we'll be back with the non-combat movements and final placement of newly recruited and built units for the Japanese Empire. Sit tight. All right, let's go ahead and review the non-combat movements for Japan. So, the Japanese army that was here in Shenzi retreated to Kweichow. So that's 4 infantry and 1 artillery. There was also 1 mechanized infantry division that kept on going and moved to Hunan at a movement of 2. Okay. Also, the units that were the Japanese army of 2 infantry divisions and 1 artillery division that was in Kwangsi moved up north to Kiangsi. All right, so that's where these guys moved into. And the 3 infantry divisions and 1 artillery division in Jehol moved into Shantung. All right, so that's where these guys are right now. So there's that small army group in that location. And all right, that's about it for the non-combat movements of the Japanese. Oh, by the way, these 2 strategic bombers were in Kwangsi as well, and they moved up north and landed in Kweichow. So that's where that those 2 strategic bomber squadrons are currently located at or in. All right, let's see what for the for the placement of newly purchased units. The Japanese will place their 2 newly built aircraft carriers in Sea Zone 6. All of these 4 aircraft, the 3 fighters and 1 tactical bomber squadrons, will be landing on the carriers. Okay, the destroyer will also be placed on Sea Zone 6, and the fighter that was newly purchased or built will be placed in Japan itself. All right, so that's about it for the non-combat movements of the Japanese and placement of new units. As for the income tracker, the Japanese are collecting a grand total of 35 IPCs for the Japanese Empire at this time. All right, guys, so this is the end of 6.3, Japan's turn. The torch is now given to the U.S., which means that I will be going ahead with the combat operations for the United States, for the USA. So let's see what happens, and let's see if we can turn this ship around. All right, guys. So keep motivated and keep on making those commentaries, and we'll be looking forward to the next turn with the U.S. As always, don't forget to bunker down and play.